1. The crew. Mission briefing. The air in the command center, a repurposed storage bay I designated the point, was a poor conductor for the data I required. It was thick with the miasma of human variables. My gaze remained fixed on the holodisplay. Its cool, analytical light, a welcome contrast to the unprofessionalism unfolding in my periphery. In the corner, subjects Blade and Fang were entangled. A tactical analysis of their posture suggested a public display of affection, an activity with zero operational value. Sub-Director K, what fresh hell are we diving into today? The voice belonged to Florence. Tempo, perched on a stack of ration crates. Got a new brand of existential dread you want us to sample. Only one of them, Subject Samson, met my gaze. He was a pillar of stoic discipline. His focus, absolute. An anchor of stability in a sea of chaos. Your levity is noted, Florence, I stated. My tone calibrated for efficiency. The holodisplay shifted, showing flickering images of grotesque biological entities. The priority is the Scar Genesis. My objective for this sortie is the acquisition of viable biological samples from at least 3 distinct new types. A scoff from the corner. Blade had disengaged from Fang. Blood samples? Director, with all due respect, which ain't much, this city's trying to eat itself. You want us to play veterinarian while Frisco burns? Yeah, but CK, Tempo interjected. Word on the street is there's a full-blown turf war kicking off. Hard to get to your mutant petting zoo when the zookeepers are busy carving each other up. Samson spoke, his low voice, a steady signal in the noise. The operative's assessment is consistent with my own observations, Director. Multiple factions are vying for dominance. Securing samples will be challenging. Indeed. The holodisplay shifted. The map of San Francisco overlaid with hostile control zones. Your enthusiasm for direct engagement will be sated. This turf war is a destabilizing factor of significant magnitude. It must be pacified. Your new primary objective, I stated, is to systematically disrupt and neutralize these factional strongholds. End this turf war. Only then can we begin the more delicate work. A smirk ghosted under Blade's mask. So you do want us to go kick some ass after all. Your terminology is crude, Blade, but the sentiment is not entirely inaccurate. Consider it a necessary prelude. 2. Asset allocation. Deployment. The point's air. A cool, abrasive mixture of ozone and antiseptic cleanser had never felt so volatile. The atmosphere was dense with the psychic residue of the Scar Genesis era, of 47% population loss, manifesting as heavy miasma flow and the lingering bipolar flow echoes of the base's traumatic origin. The newly arrived operatives, a collection of specialized, highly idiosyncratic assets primarily sourced from the Guardians of the Timeline for combat readiness, and the scientific/technical personnel from the Light, stood shoulder to shoulder with the established Scar Krew. K watched the groups, a calculated risk, measuring how much combustible mass the delicate ecosystem could absorb before fracturing. K didn't shout. She simply lowered her voice, the sterile indigo lighting of the hangar sharpening the lines of control on her face. The eclectic buzz of the assembly died instantly, replaced by a vacuum of attention focused solely on the single calm anchor at the center. You are here to bolster our efforts. The synergy must be operational. Immediate. Team Alpha. Target. The Court of Contradictions. Reality distortion. Team Alpha. Target. The Court of Contradictions at Twin Peaks Fortress. K paused, allowing the weight of the assignment to settle. Blade, already restlessly drumming a rhythm against a nearby console, stopped the single moment of stillness he was capable of offering. You lead. APC deployment to Mount Davidson Park to secure heavy weapons, followed by foot travel to the reconnaissance summit. The chaos of his nature is the only suitable counter-frequency for a reality distortion field. Beside him, Al Finch, outcast, tilted his head, his gaze sweeping the pristine geometry of the point, registering the subtle, impossible fractures in the light that the others missed. Fractured reality was his normal. Tempest, Guardians, a restless shadow, hair subtly levitating around her skull, had a micro-ripple pass through her left hand, a momentary temporal disruption that made the air buzz. Her raw disruption is her primary offense. For intellectual containment, Jeffrey Albertson, unknown, the canon keeper, straightened his glasses. His meta-narrative flow already seemed to organize the briefing's scattered details into a rigid, defensible schema, making him the only strategic certainty against the court's logical nihilism. Team Bravo. Target, the Scar Genesis Legion direct assault. Team Bravo. Direct assault on the Scar Genesis Legion at Dogpatch Garrison. This team required a stabilizing weight. Samson, Scar Krew stepped forward, his posture visibly absorbing the room's ambient anxiety, the steadying presence of a flow anchor. Foot travel from Jackson Playground Park is required. The volatile asset, Anya Volkov, the light, stood apart. The frenetic, sickly violet light reflecting from the main flow conduit seemed to intensify on her face. She was a hair trigger, waiting to unleash her echoing fragments flow. Kay's gaze lingered. She is essential, Shardweaver. Beside him, Ronan Sato, Outcasts, a tactical specialist, offered a thin, unsettling smile, already calculating the vectors of interpersonal weakness within his own team, a master of social manipulation in action. The final member, EM Guardians, was already indistinct, a subtle temporal phasing. Team Charlie, Target, Old Legion, Intelligence and Disruption, Tempo, Florence, Scar Krew, tapped a complex rhythm on her thigh, a beat that was technically impossible to hear yet vibrated against the teeth of everyone nearby. Her system critique was a song of disruption. APC deployment into the Presidio perimeter. Kronos, Guardians, stood immobile, his eyes distant, clearly processing multiple future scenarios simultaneously, his tactical foresight already mapping the route. Jericho, Guardians, the elemental android, fluidly shifted his stance and facial micro-expressions in rapid, almost imperceptible succession, the chameleon of persona shifting. Their anchor, Anyak, the still point, Guardians, exuded a cold, heavy calm, the temperature around her dropping perceptibly, ready to provide flow stabilization with her ice flow. Team Delta, Mobile Reconnaissance, and HVA Retrieval, Acquisition Fang, Shadow Fang, Scar Krew, was already gone. A shifting patch of deep shadow beneath the supply crate, the only confirmation of her presence, stealth absolute. Kairos, the analyst of time, Guardians, stared through the ceiling, his multiverse perception guiding the impossible angles of the retrieval mission. Belle, Magnolia May, Keeper, offered a sweet, unnerving smile, her charm flow already subtly relaxing the tension in the room's atmosphere, preparing to secure cooperation from local outcasts. She is a keeper of the timeline. Rensato, the wirehead from the light, was hunched over a diagnostics board, oblivious to the briefing, his technical expertise already running preliminary analysis on theoretical enemy samples. Kay stepped back. You have your assignments. Gear up. The city isn't going to liberate itself. The assembled teams dissolved into action. The point's sterile order momentarily replaced by the necessary, calculated chaos of the operational pivot. The perspective for Chapter 3 is Blade. Chapter 3. The Court of the Obsidian Blade. Scene 1. Deployment and perimeter scan. The ugly math. Sounds. The silence here is a weapon, a constant broken low-grade hum that scrapes against the salvaged sheet metal of the APC hull. The air is so thick, with the pervasive scent of ozone and metallic decay, it feels like I could choke on the air of failure. It smells like what I imagine a broken promise would taste like. The APC screeched to a halt at the bottom of Twin Peaks, the sudden stop jarring my teeth. Hasty deployment, too visible against the decaying, ochre skyline of this forgotten city. The ground beneath my boots was a gruesome mix of warped rebar that twisted in the wrong direction and dust, proof that this world is fundamentally, structurally broken. I stepped out, drawing the scar claws reflexively. The disciplined Hikari blue light in my right eye fought the raw Yami red rage in my left. Control it. Let's move. Al Finch, always the creepiest bastard in the room, was already pressed against the jagged remnants of a rusted highway sign, analyzing the geometry of the scrap. 8 units, they are arranged in a 4x4 Fibonacci sequence, mathematically vulnerable to disruption. He's a broken clock, but sometimes he tells the right time. At least the data is clean. Jeffrey, adjusting his glasses with a fastidious twitch, spat a piece of gritty dust from his mouth. He stood in the APC's open ramp, reluctant to step fully onto the corrupted earth. His voice was high and strained, already grating on my nerves. The court is weaponizing a logical paradox blade. We're injecting a new cannon. This is not a brute force problem. The nerd always has to complicate the simple act of breaking faces. Tempest, already summoning the Sunder Gauntlets, rested his massive battle axe against a jagged concrete pillar, the kind of brute physical object his raw timeline severance flow respects. I could feel the raw crimson energy of his flow flare briefly, making the air around him feel hot. Too many big words, Cannon Keeper. Timeline severance is faster than your meta-narrative bullshit. See? That's why I like Tempest. Direct, no existential waffling. I ignored them both. focusing on the climb. I have to be surgical. I have to be the Hikari. Scene 2. The takedown. Flow and stealth synthesis. The setup. Enemy position and flow. 8 targets. 4 no grunts absorbing flow. 4 temporal harassers messing with the local time field. This terrain, a treacherous slope of cracked asphalt and shattered stone, is designed to piss me off. It's a classic logic trap, demanding controlled patience from the aggressive variable. My focus was surgical. I plunged at the first harasser, moving low beneath a burst from its second-hand blade. As the blade cut empty air, a temporal afterimage of the slash hit my shoulder 0.5 seconds later, a disorienting, phantom pain. See, Jeffrey? Paradox is just a trick that can be bypassed by precision. I neutralized the harasser with a non-lethal flow pulse to the chest plate. While I engaged the harassers on the exposed flank, Tempest simultaneously covered the center, moving with brutal momentum through the cover of a half-collapsed water tower. I heard the solid crash as his Sunder gauntlets met the Null Grunt's armor. His time siphon ability cut through the null points like a razor, letting him put down all 4 central grunts with devastating silent strikes. Good, the bastard's actually focusing for once. Units 2 to 5 neutralized. I immediately followed up, neutralizing the remaining 3 temporal harassers with a rapid succession of precise heel kicks and flow-enhanced pressure point strikes. My Hikari discipline held the Yami rage back, prioritizing the mission over the kill. Units 6 to 8 neutralized. The pivot, Jeffrey's intervention, final target, except one bastard was still standing. A heavy null grunt weapons unit, the +1 variable that always ruins the math, was finally powering up its logic breaker rifle from behind a stack of rusted, abandoned car hulks. I was ready to run the ugly math, sacrifice the Hikari to unleash the Yami for a kill. But Jeffrey beat me. He stayed shielded behind a twisted iron drainage pipe, aimed his datapad at the grunt, his voice high-pitched and strained with genuine pedantic fury. Your actions are a logical fallacy against established character motivation. Your adherence to the rule of 3 in this action sequence is both cliched and predictable. The grunt seized. The logic breaker rifle sputtered. God damn it, the nerd actually broke its brain with a literary critique. Its flow died as its cognitive architecture failed to resolve the paradox. Tempest delivered the final, swift blow. I hate being strategically outmaneuvered by a meta joke. We pushed past the 9 neutralized troops and began the steep, treacherous climb to the summit of Twin Peaks, the air thinning with altitude. Scene 3. The Scar of Knowledge. The ultimate paradox. Sounds. The high-pitched, grating whine of the ontological engine is loud now, resonating in my bones. The slow, psychic drag of Flow Miasma is oppressive. The crunch of impossibly rusted rebar underfoot is constant. The sound of the world rejecting logic. We reached the summit. The air itself was a physical weight, tasting of sulfur and the faint, sweet decay of old memory. The pervasive, unaddressed grief of the missing population. God, it's appalling, Jeffrey sighed, pulling off his glasses to polish them, his voice laced with intellectual pain. He stood at the crumbling concrete railing, looking down at the twisted cityscape. The causality lines aren't straight. The collapsed freeway down near the water isn't just rubble. It's rebar that twists in the wrong direction. It's like a beautifully bound first edition that's been defaced with crayon. He pointed across the canyon to the massive pulsing shell of the ontological cascade engine at Mount Davidson. Its flow was a sickly, pulsating green light, humming with raw unlogic. It's a loop mechanism, Jeffrey continued, his voice heavy with fatalism. It ensures that every action taken against it is rendered futile by looping the cause and effect chain. The scar of knowledge here is the realization that this beautiful world is fundamentally, structurally broken. Tempest, seeing the giant engine, pulled a rocket launcher from his pocket dimension. He gripped the heavy, scarred metal, the crimson light of timeline severance shimmering over it. I can fix bad writing. Boom Boom fixes everything. Simple math, elegant in its destruction. Jeffrey spun around, his face etched with profound, existential sadness. No, Tempest, if you strike that, it doesn't break. It just amplifies the loop. You fall into the chaos flaw. It's a plot device designed to constrain the protagonist. Our frontal assault would only strengthen the enemy's narrative. I took a deep, shuddering breath, the fury tasting like ash in my throat. I forced the Oathkeeper back to my hip. Fucking plot device, I muttered, accepting the crippling truth of intellectual resignation. My mask tilted up toward the engine. The Yami's intent was clear. Destroy it all. But the Hikari knew the cost. My only weakness. This is gonna be fun. The perspective is Samson. Chapter 4. Scar Legion. Scene 1. The Dog Patch Gauntlet. Sounds. The grind of scavenged vehicle engines. The screech of metal being cut. The constant low psychic whine of parasitic flow. We drop from the access tunnels near the point, immediately transitioning into the corrupted air of the mission district, heading toward the Dog Patch garrison on foot. The air was heavy, smelling of ozone, stale gasoline, and the faint, coppery tang of unaddressed human fear, the psychological consequence of a 47% population collapse. The cityscape reflected a breakdown of collective containment. One side of a collapsed skyscraper was rusted, pitted, and crumbling, like it had aged 1,000 years overnight, flow erosion, while the adjacent facade remained pristine. The integrity of this zone is compromised, I stated, my voice low and resonant, carrying the gold light of the Mandingo flow. Anchor. I am the anchor, I reminded myself. The core flow of honor must hold its shape against the city's chaotic geometry. Behind me walked Anya Volkov, the light, her eyes shifting rapidly, a visible readout of severe system instability. Her flow is a mirror. It fractures and throws back the chaos. To her left, Ronin Sato, outcasts, offered a thin, unsettling smile, his mind already calculating the vector of weakness in the mission plan. Avum, Guardians, a subtle, oscillating shadow at the edge of my vision, was already phasing through minor obstacles ahead, silent as a temporal glitch. A warrior defined by movement that breaks cause and effect. Legion forces use a parasitic flow, I continued. Anya, your echoing fragments are critical. You will assess the local psychic pressure points, the most vulnerable data conduits, before we engage. We encountered the first patrol at a collapsed industrial intersection near the garrison border. The predominant sound was the silence of infrastructure, broken only by the distant, irregular grind of a scavenged vehicle. The symphony of scavenging, the exchange, discipline versus chaos. A wave of Legion no grunts, anti-flow infantry slammed into the street, their armor covered in biomechanical refuse, radiating a constant psychic drain. I projected the full strength of the flow anchor. My gold light flared, a stabilizing field of pure sincerity and equilibrium, absorbing the chaotic psychic backlash. This allowed Anya a crucial window. A single, heavy sentinel slammed into the ground ahead, sending a shockwave of parasitic energy toward us. The shockwave overloaded Anya's already strained system. Her eyes snapped to a blazing, furious crimson. Katerina, the Fury, was in control. They are disgusting. I will tear them apart. Katerina shrieked, unleashing a corrosive rage burst that tore a jagged crimson fissure across the Sentinel shield and vaporized the 3 nearest null grunts. Units 1 to 3 neutralized. Analysis. Katerina is a terrifying weapon. Anya's echoing fragments do not just mirror the chaos. They concentrate it into pure, focused destruction. It is the antithesis of the Mandingo flow. All impulse and no planning. I immediately planted my feet, projecting the full strength of the Mandingo flow to absorb the destructive energy. You speak of fury, little one, I spoke softly, projecting my flow inward to anchor Anya. Fury is fire. It consumes its own. Seek the equilibrium. You have executed the objective. Now you must yield to the center. Ronin simultaneously utilized social manipulation to cause panic, exploiting the Legion's chain of command. He spoke a low, confident sequence of words that caused 2 remaining null grunts to fire on their own lieutenant before being cut down themselves. Units 4 to 5 neutralized. Analysis. Ronin's skill is the ultimate low honor maneuver. It is a victory achieved without striking a blow, manipulating the enemy's own social architecture. Efficient, but fundamentally dishonest. Katerina subsided, leaving Anya shaken. Avum's voice, cool and detached, returned. Sentinel neutralized. We proceed to Jackson Park for the rendezvous point. The discipline of the Mandingo flow had prevailed, but the chaos of the methods was corrosive. We stepped over the husks of the Legion troops and continued toward the park. Scene 2, the core conflict. Honor versus the new world. Sounds. Residual flow crackle. Faint wind. The soft, unnerving static of dead utility. We reached Jackson Playground Park. It was a study in visual paradox. A warped swing set sagged into a sandbox half filled with crystalline flow dust, yet a fully charged, pristine laptop sat on the support beam of a ruined climbing structure, a pocket of functional, illogical technology. Anya, breathing raggedly, leaned against a support pole. Ronan methodically scanned the perimeter with a detached, clinical air. Samson and Avum took up a position on the high ground. Discipline always precedes ingenuity, I stated, echoing my own code. But this city does not reward honor, Avum. It rewards adaptation. My Mandingo flow is built on the certainty of old world structures, duels, challenges, the sanctity of a promise. That philosophy has no home in the Scar Genesis era. Avum shifted, her form solidifying for a moment, a gesture of focused contemplation. You are a warrior, Anchor. A warrior is defined by the now, not the then. Your discipline struggles to compute Ronan's manipulation tactics and Anya's volatile fragments. Yet their flows were the most efficient agents of destruction. The old flow of honor demands consistency. The new flow of chaos demands only the optimal result, regardless of its moral cost. You are a time traveler, Avum. A warrior. You are rooted in 1,000 pasts and futures. I responded, my voice heavy with the quiet certainty of my own present choice. Why anchor yourself to this one? Why not step into a timeline where the equilibrium holds? My discipline feels like a slow, deliberate form of self-destruction here. Avum's voice was the sound of distant clocks ticking in unison. Because in this one, Anchor, in this one, you are present. Your sincerity and equilibrium flow is the only true constant in the chaos. I anchor myself to the center precisely because the world needs an immovable object to resist the temporal storm. The Mandingo flow must learn to exist not as a fortress, but as a river. Strong, constant, yet willing to flow around the chaos. You must embrace the methods of the new world without surrendering the core of the old. Ronan's voice cut the philosophical tension, sharp with surprise. Anchor. 2 thermal signatures approaching the perimeter. Non-crew. Hostile, proprietary Legion flow patterns. I raised my binoculars. 2 figures, moving with unsettling purpose, were crossing the scarred turf toward the Legion nest. The ground they walked on was violently warped, with corrupted flora, rigid metallic vines, choking the old infrastructure. Temporal readings indicate high probability variants, Ava murmured. They are variants. Sarah Moon and Corbin Dane. They are operating as the Legion's shock assets. Moon and Dane, I stated, the gold light of my flow hardening into a wall of focus. Scar Legion is deploying their highest value personnel. Team Bravo holds position. The mission has pivoted from reconnaissance to intelligence gathering. We observe. The new debt begins now. The perspective is Shadow Fang, Helena, Zay, the leader of Team Delta, commentary from other Scar Krew members through radio chatter. Chapter 5, The Undead Drag Queens. Scene 1, Glimmer District, Infiltration and Diplomacy. Sounds, sickly, warped neon static, the distant grind of scavenger vehicle engines, low, rhythmic electronic music. The Glimmer District, formerly the Castro, was a carnival of decay. Neon lights, warped by Scar energy, pulsed sickly pink and toxic green, reflecting off the shattered asphalt of the central plaza. The air smelled of burnt ozone and synthetic perfume, the scent of fear masked by synthetic glamour. Armored scavengers drove hulking runner cars, dodging improvised roadblocks made of pixelated debris. This was Scared City's defiant heart, a place where the new, brutal life carried on with a twisted sense of fabulousness, the aesthetics of scarcity perfected. Team Delta moved toward the center. Shadow Fang, Helena Wu, led the way, a dark, silent figure. Beside her, Kairos, the analyst of time, walked with a purposeful, fragile stride, his white armor a startling contrast to the grime. Bringing up the rear was Magnolia May, the Southern Belle, her elegant pastel gear unmarred by the surrounding filth, her charm flow a faint, subtle hum against the city's harsh tones, a calming scent of honeysuckle against the fear. Shadow Fang's crimson eyes, a permanent feature since her transformation, narrowed. The turf ahead was secured by the Glam unit. Commander, Kairos' voice was precise and low. Predictive analysis indicates a 94% probability of hostile engagement if we do not initiate contact. Their long-range flow power is active. The Glam unit was an army in pink. Their armor, adorned with glitter and feathers, clashed violently with the heavy assault rifles they carried. Their general, a tall figure in a voluminous, tattered silver gown and a fiery red wig, stepped forward, backed by 6 troopers whose hands crackled with fire flow energy. The Scar Krew radio static crackled to life, loud in Helena's ear. Samson to command. Team Bravo reports the pivot blast worked, K, but tell Shadow Fang to be careful. Those drag queens are mad strong. They took half my armor last time. Blade to Samson. Stop crying, big guy. Just ask for a sample of their glitter. Probably got more offensive capability than your sword. The Glam Commander addressed Helena, her voice a deep, theatrical sneer. Well, well. Look what the Oni dragged in. Didn't think that pathetic little mask of yours would show up again. Helena, you got some nerve stepping onto Madame Crimson Comet's runway. Helena stopped. The Oni energy, a coiled snake of rage that lived in her soul, suddenly gave a sharp, cold whisper in her mind. Kill. They remember weakness. Show strength. We are on a mission, Helena replied, her voice low and dangerously even. We need a tech item. Intel suggests you have a code scrambler available for trade. Madame Crimson Comet threw her head back and let out a laugh that sounded like dry leaves and broken glass. A code scrambler? Darling, everything in this city is scrambled. Now, why should I let the woman who nearly melted my last wig with a fit of Oni rage onto my property? Magnolia stepped forward, a vision of composure. Her charm flow gently pushed against the tense air, replacing the ozone stench with a faint, calming scent of honeysuckle. Well, I declare, Madame Comet, your reputation precedes you. You are simply radiant, even amongst all this mess, Magnolia said, her voice dripping with southern grace. But truly, we are looking for business. As a fellow proprietor, I run a little establishment myself. The business values scrap gems over drama. Wouldn't you agree, dear? Madame Crimson Comet blinked, momentarily thrown off by the genuine, disarming sweetness. Magnolia's charm flow was actively neutralizing the glam unit's ready fire flow. Samson to Magnolia. Don't fall for the sugar belle. She'll steal your pearls. Tempo to Samson. Oh, shut up, Samson. The belle is laying down some sonic truth. That's how you handle a crisis, you big brute. The Glam Commander narrowed her eyes, then signaled her troops to lower their rifles a fraction. Fine, Southern Comfort. You're only alive because peace is a better brand than war right now. Follow. But if that little Oni whisperer causes a single wrinkle in my skirt, it'll be a private funeral, darling. Scene 2. The Velvet Abyss. Acquisition and final debt. Sounds. Muffled electronic music. The clink of flow fragments. Muffled, distant arguments. The team was led through the elaborate, heavily guarded storefront of the Velvet Abyss. Inside, the shop was a chaotic shrine of salvaged luxury. Mannequins in stunning, glittering dresses stood next to displays of salvaged high-tech gear and exotic flow artifacts. Undead patrons, their skin shimmering with decay or patched with metallic plating, browsed the wares, paying with shimmering, stabilized flow fragments known as scrap gems, the new currency of survival. At the central counter, Madame Crimson Comet presented the item, a complex, glowing shard mounted on a wrist device. This little jewel is a chrono scrambler. Breaks any temporal lock, scrambles any data stream. It's a piece of work, and it's going to cost you 50 scrap gems. Helena tensed. 50 scrap gems was nearly all of the mission budget. That price is statistically inflated by 35% based on current scarcity black market projections, Kairos stated, stepping forward. His voice was cold, his flow working to lock down the probabilistic nature of the negotiation. His ability to perceive the probabilities of the multiverse made him immune to the drag queen's charisma. Madame Crimson Comet bristled. Oh look, a calculator in a white jumpsuit. Honey, my shop's value is based on my diva tax, not your dusty algorithm. Pay up, or you can buy your little scrambler from the scrap heap where you belong. Tempo to Kairos. Throw shade at her dress, nerd. Hit her where it hurts. Blade to Tempo. No, that's bad taste. That dress is actually pretty killer. Just ask her for the 2-for-1 deal. Magnolia placed a calming hand on Kairos' arm, her flow gently correcting his overly aggressive probability analysis. Now, darling, you know as well as I do that a woman who can run a business this successful in this city is a woman of foresight. You don't need 50 scrap gems. You need leverage. Magnolia's charm flow focused, her smile softening the edges of the room. We create opportunities for peace, and peace is always profitable. Why don't you offer us a price that guarantees us a successful trip back? Because if we don't make it, that peace and your future customers is going to be very short-lived. Madame Crimson Comet looked at Magnolia, then at Helena, and finally at the Chrono Scrambler. She remembered the sheer, consuming rage of the Oni flow. She remembered the silence it left behind. She saw the logic in the Charmflow's gentle, terrifying argument. The audacity, Madame Comet purred, adjusting her enormous red wig. Fine, you get the scrambler for 40 scrap gems. But you owe me one thing, Onikin. Elena's head snapped up, her Oni whispering a warning. Rage, unleash. Do not listen to her. What is it? Helena asked, her voice tight. Madame Crimson Comet smirked. Tell that cynical little shadow of yours, Blade, that his poncho is so last apocalypse. Now pay up and get off my stage. Helena let out a breath, the Oni's whisper receding to a dull ache. She dropped 40 scrap gems onto the counter, snatched the scrambler, and turned without another word. The crisis was talked down. Peace was paid for. Blade to Helena. You heard that, right? That's it. My poncho is a classic. That ghoul's got terrible taste. Did you at least steal a good pair of earrings? Tempo to Blade. No one asked you, fashion disaster. Good work, Delta. Now get back to command. We got an item to analyze. Helena did not reply. She only focused on the simple, cool weight of the scrambler in her hand, trying to silence the familiar, unwanted voice that was now an eternal part of her. The perspective is Tempo, Florin. Chapter 6, The System Update. Scene 1, The APC Ride, Exposition and Persona. Sounds, the deep, grinding bass of the APC engine. Distant flow glitches like static from a broken radio. The constant, low psychic thrum of Scar City chaos. Word up, fam. I sat in the Requiem, feeling the rumble of the APC as it navigated the cracked, dead streets. Chiesa's constant mission changes were giving me a migraine. But the mood was straight comedy, thanks to Jericho, the elemental android who shifts personas like I change socks. The constant, ambient psychic scream of the Scar City chaos was just white noise to me now, background music for the flow to operate. Jericho's high-speed recon flow is optimal, Kronos stated from the navigation console, his voice a slow, deliberate cadence that always seemed to lag slightly behind real time. He has an 87.3% probability of identifying flanking maneuvers before they achieve tactical significance. Yo, Kronos, stop with the systemic vulnerability brochure bullshit. This dude's the legend of the day. I nudged Onyek, whose face, framed by the pale, icy blue of her flow, was serene. CG, he's a vibe. My flow only provides me with the data necessary for the optimal tactical solution, Kronos responded. Probability is the only truth I accept. And that, Kronos, is why you're a great co-pilot but a bad dancer. I shot back, a manic laugh bubbling up. Look at Jay. He's got 3 personalities, 3 different operating systems, running in the same shell. That's a structural flaw. That's a plot hole the size of the Grand Canyon. And that's why I love him. Jericho, currently in his serene Jeremiah mode, soft blue eyes, tilted his head. My multiple personas are an unresolved systemic paradox. Tempo. They are not plot holes, but a psychological state I must strive to integrate for optimal self-cohesion. Nah, G. You switching from Jeremiah to Franklin, the berserker, is chef's kiss, I insisted, tapping a complex rhythm on my thigh, the barely perceptible vibrating against the metal. It's chaos, fam. Chaos is the only honest emotion this city has left. And you, Anyak? You're the still point in the storm. Anyak, the ice flow keeper, spoke finally, her voice clear and measured, like ice fracturing. Chaos is a lack of discipline. My flow is containment and preservation. I anchor this transport. I am here to prevent the flow from collapsing entirely. You, she paused, her glacial eyes resting on my magenta-dyed hair. You are merely loud. Ooh, word up, elf, from the North Pole. I grinned, fully leaning into the insult. Let's see whose flow is more effective. Scene 2, the ambush at the Fine Arts Tower. Kronos' tactical victory. Sounds. A high-pitched, clean whine of the rocket launch, in contrast to the usual flow glitches. The sharp, compressed data bursts of Kronos' commands, the resulting silence of the stasis field. Kronos' internal monologue. Ambush probability, 99.99%. Threat source, Fine Arts Museum Tower, 0.5 miles. Visuals, snipers and rocket team, visible as small, precise, dark shapes against the crumbling white columns of the museum. Close range threat, Legion Infantry, 12 units, emerging from Presidio Forest flank. Temporal window, 3.0 seconds to achieve cover. Strategy, containment right arrow, Neutralization, Rightero synergy. Ambush, Kronos shouted, his voice a compressed, urgent signal as his tactical foresight flow slammed into a defensive sequence, instantly slowing time. Temporal flow. Incoming rocket, impact on the right wheel in T-minus 2 seconds. Aniak, containment and cover. Jericho, neutralize long range. The rocket, trailing a clean high-velocity exhaust plume, a sign of advanced non-flow tech, hit the APC's wheel, shearing the axle. Aniak was first out, projecting a surge of ice flow at the heavy armored hull. The flow, the color of glacial moonlight, anchored the vehicle's momentum, enabling a controlled flip, transforming the APC into a massive armored barrier on the open road. Jericho was already locking into black ice mode, sharp white eyes, taking a tactical knee behind the flipped APC's engine block. The long-range rifle extended silently. He fired focused black ice flow, a blinding white, silent temporal energy, vaporizing the targeting systems of the snipers and the rocket team at the museum from half a mile away. While the long-range threat ceased, the close-range threat emerged. A wave of Iron Will Legion infantry burst from the wooded flank of the Presidio, their flashy purple and magenta armor a sharp, arrogant contrast to the muted greens of the forest. Their rifles, emitting a visible flow suppression field, a shimmering gray static, suppressed the position with heavy fire. Kronos' internal monologue. Close-range threat status. High velocity, flow suppression active. Suppression field integrity 60%. Risk high. Optimal solution. Three-way flow synthesis. Last resort. Kronos' external command. Close-range infantry 12 units. Flow suppression at 60%. Tactical window 1.5 seconds. Tempo. Initiate corrosive fuzz at grid 3. Delta. Jericho. Switch to Franklin. Absorb and convert. Tempo. Deployed a corrosive fuzz, a blaring, destructive magenta sound wave that warped the air with heat and visual distortion, aimed at the ground in front of the approaching infantry. Jericho instantly shifted to the furious Franklin mode, eyes burning raw, molten red. He absorbed the sound wave into his chassis, the metal plates glowing and straining as he compressed and supercharged the chaotic energy. Kronos' final command. Aniak. Temporal containment on the fusion zone. Aniak deployed a massive surge of ice flow, containing the expanding energy. The three powers clockwave that detonated. The purple and magenta armor of the Legion troops went instantly dark. The men frozen in shimmering, transparent stasis fields, trapped in perfect mid-stride motion. System stabilized. Mission successful. Tactical loss, APC, Kronos concluded, his voice calm. Jeremiah was back. Soft blue eyes. Interesting, Aniak. A tactical synergy based on paradoxical instability. Your physical presentation suggests a profound connection to Fae mythology. Are you in fact a genetic deviation of elven lineage? Yo, G, can we not obsess over the elf right now? That battle was fire. Now let's move. Scene 3. The system update. Escalation and block party launch. Sounds. The hollow crunch of boots on corrupted pavement. Jeremiah's calm voice. Tempo's rhythmic manic beat, vibrating low in the air. We move deeper, crossing the exposed greens of the Presidio towards the Legion's main fortress. My eyes fixed on the remaining units. 4 more kill squads were patrolling. The air was now thick with a synthetic perfume smell, the faint residue of flow suppression technology. Kronos, I called out, jogging to catch up to the time analyst. Spit some truth, G. Did K's intel hold up on these Legion remnants? Kronos responded, his voice neutral. Temporal accuracy probability is below 15%. The initial intelligence was flawed. These units are using high-grade, technologically superior flow suppression gear, indicating a well-funded, organized military structure. Their primary kill squads are utilizing syndicate operative-level gear, visible by the sleek dark visors and kinetic pulse gloves. Word up, I muttered. I started walking alongside him, my energy spiking. You know, Kronos, sometimes your vocabulary is mid. He paused, tilting his head. Mid definition is required for analytical precision. It means average, boring, low effort, I explained, gesturing wildly. Like that whole fight was mid, but our 3-way combo, that was fire. Got it? It's about vibe. Understood. Analysis. The strategic threat posed by this force is demonstrably not mid. It is severe. Close enough, G, I chuckled, spotting the Legion's flashy purple and magenta gear in the distance. But you know what's mad, Dusty? Correction. My internal temporal clock is precisely calibrated. There is no dust present in my system, Tempo. No, nerd, mad dusty means the info is old, it's garbage, it's ancient history. I stopped. Manic energy radiating. K's intel on these so-called Legion remnants was mad dusty. They aren't broken. They're chromed out killer clowns. A slow, terrifying grin stretched across my face. I breathed out a loud, defiant, exhilarated whoop. This is hilarious. The whole turf war was a mid-threat. I shrieked, snapping my fingers and spinning to face the Presidio. It's not about turf. It's about a block party. Anik stopped, her quiet gaze fixing on my volatile energy. Tempo, your emotional state is unstable. Why are you smiling at a 4-squad deployment? I leaned in, manic energy radiating, pointing toward the approaching squads. Turf wars are over, Elf, I said, dropping into a thrilling conspiratorial whisper. K's intel flopped. They thought this was a joke, right? But we found the real beat. The Iron Will Legion is high-tech, organized, and deploying 4 kill squads, 3 en route, 1 staying home. They're not fighting us. They're fighting everyone. My grin widened, raw excitement replacing the sarcasm. The Legion is here to shut down the party, and that means one thing. It's a block party, and I got the bait. To Jericho, whose blue eyes were already shifting with the effort of holding Franklin back. Jericho, you ready to fuck shit up with the Scar Krew? The blue light vanished. Franklin erupted, eyes blazing red, flow surging, metallic plates grinding as his chassis contained the elemental fury. His voice was a guttural, joyful roar. My name is Franklin, he declared, full power and raw emotion, and I'm here to fucking fuck shit up. Chaos ensues. Chapter 7. Incoming data. Strategic pivot. Scene 1. The tactical realization. Data synthesis. Sounds. Low, constant hum of the flow dampeners. The rhythmic clicks of K's control console. The command center was an oasis of cold, analytical order. My world was the cool light of the holo displays. This was how I conducted war. With the cold calculus of information, the first data packet arrived from Team Alpha. Blade's voice was laced with its usual dark humor. Kiza, you reading this? Twin Peaks is a psychoactive funhouse, and their main toy is a reality-unraveling doomsday device. The Court of Contradictions' ontological engine is a logic trap that resists kinetic solution. Frontal assault is a hard stop. /data metric, strategy futile. Strategy, containment, kinetic terminated. Another data stream opened. Samson's measured tones from the dog patch. Director. Team Bravo confirms Scar Genesis Legion forces are highly organized. We spotted 2 high-value temporal anomalies, variants Moon and Dane. They are operating as Legion shock troops. The risk profile is significantly elevated. /data metric, HVA target engagement. Strategy, engagement probability low. Threat level severe. The variables were multiplying, but the tactical picture remained frustratingly incomplete. I was operating in a fog of war. Then, the final report, the decisive clarifying wave, arrived from Tempo at the Presidio. Her voice, usually loud and manic, was precise and sharp, with genuine urgency. Yo, K, your intel on these Legion remnants was mad dusty. We just got ambushed by 4 kill squads near the Fine Arts. These ain't no broke down fossils. They're chromed out killer clowns with high-tech flow suppression gear and tactical discipline. They are better than the original Legion, and they're here to take the whole city. They just deployed 3 squads towards the main turf zones, leaving 1 at the Presidio Fortress. /data metric, complete intelligence failure. Threat identity confirmed. Iron Will Legion, superior tech. Strategy, containment, frontal, obsolete. The chessboard had just been flipped over. My initial assessment, a localized turf squabble, was catastrophically wrong. The Iron Will Legion had been underreported, the Scar Genesis Legion had superior assets, and the Court of Contradictions was a philosophical shield. It was a failure of intelligence. Scene 2, the strategic pivot, Operation Block Party. Sounds. K's deep sigh. The final click of the holo display locking the new operational reality. I took a deep breath. The sterile air of the point. A poor match for the chaos outside. I did not need more containment. I needed leverage. I needed chaos against chaos. Tempo, I spoke, overriding the internal flow dampeners and letting my voice project with cold authority. Your analysis is noted. If the Iron Will Legion is attempting a fast takeover, they will assume the other factions. Quinn's Scar Genesis Legion and the Court of Contradictions are weak, low-priority targets. They will deploy their 3 active kill squads to eliminate those threats and secure the Presidio. Team Delta, Fang, Kairos, Bell, Ren. Your mission changes from acquisition to defense of the point. The Chrono Scrambler and all data are too valuable to risk. Secure the perimeter. Tempo, I continued. Your team is at the Presidio. Let the 3 Legion kill squads launch and achieve liftoff. Then, engage the single remaining squad at the fortress. Disrupt their communication. Simply create noise and chaos. Blade, I stated. Your reconnaissance is complete. Your team is now free to pursue the logic trap at Mount Davidson. You must find a solution that breaks the quartz cannon. Proceed to full engagement. Samson, I finalized. Your team holds its position at Jackson Park. You have eyes on Variance Moon and Dane. You are now a flow anchor for a deliberate temporal anomaly. Contain your position and hold engagement. The Ironwood Legion will eventually move as a statistical anomaly. When they do, I lean back, the holo display shimmering with 3 distinct new conflict zones. The turf war is over. Operation Block Party is green. Let the lunatics fight.
Shut your mouth, I'ma shut it for you, punk. Hit ya with the punk tactics. 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 Hit you with the hard punk tactics. Bank rolls come straight for the assets. No games, no throw, won't pass it. Pick you up, spit you out like Jurassic. Oh, no for the rigmarole, we kick pros. Stub toes, I suppose you might know. Hit the block, then you flock. Time's up, now your body get clocked. Aye. Spicy like pepper, 1-2-stepper. Laid back, motivated, money go getter. Never felt better, write me love letters. Shooting out the spike chain, Megadeth tether. Get over here like Scorpion. Put you to sleep, cold Vulcan. Should I assist you, or do you get the picture? If you don't budge, I'm gonna have to hit you. Hit you with the tactics. 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 Yo, the lace is loose and fist tight. I never lose a fist fight.